I call the next speaker Lord Moylan.
My Lords, it's daunting to speak after the learned and noble Lord Mackay of Clashburn, and to find myself disagreeing somewhat with a former Lord Chancellor. I'm not, of course, a lawyer, and I feel as though I've stumbled into a convention of highly distinguished lawyers. Had I stumbled into a convention of highly distinguished grocers discussing this subject, they may, of course, take a rather different tone and approach to the practicalities of the matter. My Lords, at the heart of this claim about the rule of law is a statement made by the learned and noble Lord Judge in his speech at second reading, that the rule of law is indivisible. This is not a legal point, it's a point in the philosophy of law, and it's highly contestable. The implication is that a breach, however small, of international law will lead to, for example, a rising murder rate in Stockton, or the reckless parking on double yellow lines of vehicles in Birmingham, or indeed that the government of China might observe its obligations better if we didn't pass this bill today. But actually, my Lords, people outside this House understand that that is not how law works. They understand that international law is a distinct realm, a realm in which practical relations between states are codified, but which do not endure if they place intolerable burdens on one party. And that, of course, brings us to the substance of this part of the bill, which are the intolerable demands being placed on the coherence of the United Kingdom by the manner in which the European Union is seeking to interpret and implement the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, some noble lords, in talking about this in relation to another treaty, the Good Friday Agreement or the Belfast Agreement, have presented the alternatives as being very straightforward. It's either punctilious observation of the Northern Ireland Protocol, or it's the return of the bomber and the gunman. In fact, that was very much the gravamen of the speech made by the noble Lord Hayne at second reading. My Lords, this is a simplistic view of the state of affairs in Ireland, and it rests on the fallacy that the Good Friday Agreement requires the absence of a goods border on the island of Ireland. As the noble Baroness Lady Hoey said, that simply isn't true. The Good Friday Agreement says nothing, almost nothing, it says nothing at all about goods borders on the island of Ireland. It does say a great deal about the principle of consent of both communities, a principle that seems to have gone seriously astray, but about borders, goods borders, it says nothing at all. So in those circumstances, when challenged, people who take that view refer rather not to the text of the Good Friday Agreement, where they don't find such a mention, but rather to its context. My Lord, you cannot insist on the detailed written text of the Northern Ireland Protocol while ignoring the detailed text of the Good Friday Agreement and instead appealing to its context. The truth is, we have entered into a mesh of largely, in many cases, conflicting treaties. They do not mesh well, and the question is not which of them is not whether some of those principles are going to go, but which. And I noticed that when the noble Lord Newby spoke, he quite happily cast away the principle of unfettered access of trade between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. He doesn't believe it can exist in practice, but that is because he prefers one interpretation of that complex and contradictory agreement to another. My Lords, the situation in Northern Ireland, it's an understatement to say that it requires detailed and nuanced handling. An illustration of that emerged even after this debate had spoken, with the breaking news that the First Minister of Northern Ireland and the Deputy First Minister, representing the DUP and Sinn Féin, have written jointly to the European Commission to object most strongly to the idea that supermarket vehicles travelling from Northern Ireland, from Britain to Northern Ireland, might actually have to be subject to border checks. But of course it's entirely within the Northern Ireland Protocol that they should. But it is a subtle situation in Northern Ireland. And if you can unite the DUP and Sinn Féin on that point, it seems to me to show that simplistic views need to be avoided. What we face is a determination dating back to 2016 that the EU take economic control of Northern Ireland, despite the fact that even that is contrary both to the Good Friday Agreement and to the EU treaties themselves, both of which recognise that Northern Ireland is fully part of the sovereign territory of the United Kingdom. And there are, I'm afraid to say, too many members of your Lordships House who have actually adopted that view. My own view is I don't agree with them, and I think it would be nice if a few more members of the peerage of the United Kingdom actually spoke up for the United Kingdom. Yeah.